Lisbon. The plane, a twin-engined Airbus A330, is being flown by a young co-pilot, Dirk de Jager, and an experienced captain, Robert Pichet. The flight deck of the A330 is ultra-modern. Banks of computers connected to over 100 onboard sensors constantly monitor the operation of the plane. On this night, the computers assist the smooth takeoff of Flight 236.
236 Heavy, follow A320 Air Canada. Turn left on Romeo and hold short on 24 right.
Roger, follow A320 Air Canada, left on Romeo and hold short of 24 right.
With the crew of 13, Flight 236 has 306 people on board.
Transat 236 Heavy, cleared for takeoff.
240 at 8, cleared for takeoff, 24 right, Transat 236 Heavy.
At 10 minutes past 8, the Airbus A330, loaded with over 47 tons of fuel, left Toronto for Lisbon.
V1, rotate.
The weather forecast for the Atlantic crossing is good. Everything runs smoothly on the flight deck, apart from a small adjustment to the route. To avoid congestion, air traffic control directs the flight 60 miles south of its original route. It's a minor alteration, but will play a crucial role later. Passengers settle down for the long crossing. For the first 5 hours, everything is routine.
Look, we're getting a warning signal. Oil temp low and oil pressure high on number 2.
What? This warning is the first step in the crisis. Air Transat 236 continues on track. Then, 20 minutes later, a new warning.
Fuel imbalance warning.
The Airbus 330. Most of the fuel is in large tanks in the wings. The computer has now detected that the fuel level on the right is now significantly lower than the left. 39,000 feet over the Atlantic, some 300 kilometers from land, Air Transat Flight 236 is in trouble. Unknown to the pilots, the right engine is leaking fuel. The plane's computer system has thrown up a series of warnings, but the pilots believe these are computer errors.
Bet you it's a computer problem.
If the computer is correct, then with the amount of fuel remaining, the Airbus will no longer be able to make it to Lisbon. Captain Pichet is forced to divert the flight.
We've got to divert.
Transat 236 Heavy, Santa Maria Control, can you advise nearest airfield? We have a possible fuel problem.
The nearest runway is over 300 kilometers away. With the fuel remaining, Lajes Military Air Base on the tiny island of Terceira in the Azores should be within reach. Flight 236 continues flying south for the next 25 minutes. Everything in the cabin seems normal. But in the cockpit, the fuel readings are getting worse. According to the fuel gauges, the plane is using fuel much faster than normal.
We have to declare a fuel emergency.
Transat 236 Heavy, Santa Maria Control.
Santa Maria Control, Transat 236 Heavy, go ahead.
Transat 236 Heavy, declaring fuel emergency.
The right-hand engine runs out of fuel and cuts out.
We're losing engine number 2. I don't believe this. Okay, maximum thrust on number 1.
What's going on?
We'll descend to 33,000 to control our speed.
236 Villages Tower, we have lost one engine flame out.
Roger, Transat 236. We can see you on primary radar. You are at 135 nautical miles from Lajes Field.
But 13 minutes after the right-hand engine cut out, and with 157 kilometers still to go, the left engine begins to fail.
We're losing number 1.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. We have lost both engines due to fuel starvation. We are gliding now.
One of the most sophisticated airliners of the modern era, carrying 306 passengers and crew, is now nothing more than a giant glider, drifting steadily down towards the ocean. Without power, the plane loses 1,000 feet in height for every 5 kilometers it travels forward. They can reach the Azores, but if the pilots make a mistake, they may face a forced landing on the water.
We have to ditch in the water. Prepare the cabin.
The cabin's slowly depressurizing. We need to put our oxygen masks on.
The loss of engine power means the cabin will soon depressurize. Ditching a large passenger jet on the water presents a severe hazard. If the Airbus 330 has to make a forced landing, the chances of survival are bleak.
As it enters the water, one of the first things that's going to hit the water is the tail. And it's probably going to be ripped right off. And the fuselage is probably going to open right about there.
With over 100 kilometers before they reach the Azores, the pilots face a long and difficult maneuver. They need to keep the plane gliding for more than 15 minutes to reach the Azores.
Transat 236 heavy to Lajes Tower.
Lajes Tower receiving, Transat 236 heavy.
On the ground, emergency services prepare for the crash landing of a fully loaded airliner. With 20 kilometers to go, the crew now prepare for the most dangerous part of the operation, getting their plane on the runway in one piece. There is no room for error. Without power, the pilots have only one chance at landing. As they approach the runway, their speed increases dangerously. Too fast, and they could run off the end of the runway. Captain Pichet now performs a difficult series of swerving maneuvers to slow the plane down for landing. The crew line up the giant Airbus for the final approach.
Landing gear down and locked. 3 green. No flaps. Only the emergency brakes. No spoilers, no reverse thrust.
Alert the cabin.
Cabin crew, 1 minute to landing. Vertical speed at 3,000 feet per minute. We're going way too fast. And the speed's increasing, 203 knots now. It's way too fast.
But even if the crew can get the Airbus on the runway, they face a further problem. Without engines, the normal procedures for braking are severely restricted. The Airbus hits hard at high speed.
The tires have blown!
Captain Pichet tries to hold the nose down. After bursting 8 tires, the plane finally stops in the middle of the runway.
What we say, we made it! We made it! We made it!
Come on, everybody, get out of the plane right now! Let's get it! Come on, come on!
Pichet and de Jager had flown their Airbus without power further than any passenger jet in history. As news of their remarkable achievement spread around the world, they found themselves reluctant heroes. The Transport Canada investigation into Air Transat Flight 236 discovered that basic maintenance errors had led to the fuel leak. Air Transat had accepted responsibility and were heavily fined. Only because air traffic control initially sent the plane 60 miles south to avoid congestion was it close enough to the Azores when the crisis struck. Otherwise, it would have had to ditch in the ocean. The Portuguese investigation remains unpublished.